I adore how nice people are to us when we go down the street. He had fame, money, and an ideal life that millions wanted, but then it all fell apart. Drew Scott, who starred on Property Brothers, was hiding a terrible tragedy behind his happy exterior. It almost ruined everything he had worked for. The public watched him succeed, but few knew how hard it was for him behind the scenes. What exactly happened to the star who looked like they had it all? Stay with us as we tell you the emotional reality about the twins' first days. Drew and Jonathan Scott were born on April 28, 1978, in Vancouver, Canada. The Scott family had two identical twins who were the youngest members. From the start, their lives were full with both creativity and discipline. Their parents, Jim and Joanne Scott, made sure that their household was a place where both imagination and hard work were important. Scott Jim used to work in the movie business in Hollywood. He had a distinct view on life because he worked as an actor and stuntman. He had enjoyed the excitement of sets, cameras, and action, but he later left that life to focus on ranching and family. The boys grew up hearing stories about his time in the movies, which made them interested in entertainment from a young age. They also saw in him the value of being determined, disciplined, and willing to change when required. Their mother, Joanne, had a different kind of effect on them. She thought education, organization, and structure were important. And she made sure her kids knew how important it was to work hard in school and learn. Drew and Jonathan were always full of energy and ideas, even as kids. They didn't want to just sit around and depend on their parents for everything. Jim thought it was important for his kids to learn how hard work pays off. When he was 7, he made modest chores around the house that came with prizes. The twins had already taken their first steps into the world of business by the time they reached 8. They started creating hangers with nylon wraps, which was a simple product that they made themselves. They chose to take it to the next level instead of just doing it as a pastime. They went door to door in their area, introducing themselves with charm and persistence, and offered the hangers to anyone who wanted to buy them. It wasn't easy, but it taught me a lot about sales, patience, and how to bounce back. The big break came when one woman spotted their potential and ordered a lot of hangers. For the young boys, this was more than just a money win. It showed that their hard work may pay off in a big way. That instruction set both of them on fire. They knew they could make something useful and get other people to believe in its value. From that point on, they weren't just kids searching for extra cash. They were young businesspeople with big goals that went far beyond their local community. The house they grew up in was anything from normal. Joanne kept telling them to focus on their academics so they wouldn't forget about school. She stressed reading, writing, and being focused, whereas Jim told students to look outside the box and go after chances. The twins had a well-rounded childhood because they were both creative and focused on school. They learned to have great dreams, but they also learned how to make them come true with hard work and forethought. These early businesses weren't only about making money to buy toys or snacks. They learned important things from their time in the nylon hanger business. They learned how to talk to individuals from different backgrounds, how to deal with rejection without losing confidence, and how to negotiate. But how did two little lads who sold hangers and wanted to be famous wind up being famous on TV? Let's see. From clowns to cameras. Drew and Jonathan Scott's energy and drive only grew greater when they became teenagers. A lot of young people spent their leisure time on school or sports, but the twins were already trying out other methods to make money and get better at what they did. One of the first things they did for fun was perform at kids' parties. They learned how to be clowns, including how to dress up, use balloons, and do tricks. And soon became famous in their area for their energetic shows. The work may have appeared like fun, but it took discipline, patience, and the ability to keep kids interested. They learned how to act, make people laugh, and feel good about themselves in front of strangers on these early programs. Those crammed living rooms full of laughing kids helped them develop their sense of comedy and showmanship, which eventually became part of their TV charm. Drew thought that sports would be his future at one point. He was tall, thin, and naturally athletic, and he wanted to play professional basketball. He loved the thought of competing on the court, so he put all of his energy into the game. Sadly, injuries got in the way of this journey. He had high hopes for his career in sports, but then everything came to an end, and he had to find a new path. It was hard to get used to, but it also let him pursue a different interest that had been quietly blossoming inside him. Fun. Drew was used to the world of TV and movies because he grew up in a family where his father, Jim, was a successful stuntman and actor. He had always been interested in that background, and when basketball was no longer a possibility, he fully committed to it. Soon, it started to show up. Drew had brief parts in well-known shows including Smallville, where he was Tom Welling's body double, and he also appeared in Breaker High and Madison. Even though these weren't leading roles, they gave him a lot of useful experience on professional sets. He saw how performances were put together, how directors worked with actors, and how every little thing added to the final performance. It was more than just a thrilling journey to be in these concerts. It offered Drew a taste of what it was like to work in entertainment, and he started to understand how hard it was to do. He learned how to remember things, how to time things, and how to be flexible in a business that didn't always offer stability. These little but profound events fueled his passion and convinced him that being in front of the camera was where he truly belonged. Jonathan was just as skilled, but he was more interested in design and construction. He supported his brother's dreams and was excited to try out new creative outlets. Drew was excited, but he quickly understood that acting alone would not be enough to make him financially secure. The entertainment business was unpredictable, with chances that came and went without warning. To make ends meet, he went back to real estate, a sector he and Jonathan had already dabbled in while they were students at the University of Calgary. They had bought, fixed up, and rented out homes to other students. Drew understood how these skills may help him make a living as he pursued acting. This time was a turning point in his life. Drew was able to combine two quite distinct interests by working in real estate and performing at the same time. He could keep chasing the excitement of being in movies and TV shows on the one hand. On the other hand, he could count on the consistent income and chances to solve problems that real estate gave him. He was sure he could always take care of himself, even if auditions didn't go well, because he was good at fixing up houses, making deals, and managing renters. When they got to college, there was another big turning moment waiting for them. This one would quietly change the trajectory of their lives, from real estate to production. When Drew and Jonathan Scott started college at the University of Calgary, they were determined to find a way to study and be financially independent at the same time. A lot of students just cared about their classes, but the twins had already learned how to be business-minded from their childhood businesses. It didn't take long for them to see an opportunity that would set them up for the rest of their lives. There was a neglected property available near the college. The brothers didn't see ruin, they saw possibility. They put their little finances together, took the chance of buying the house, and worked hard to fix it up. They worked hard to fix, paint, and improve every nook until it was a nice place for students to live. This was a smart choice because the property rapidly started making money, which made them both feel good about themselves. And money security. Their success with that first home made them want to do more. Not only did the renovations pay off financially, but they also showed off their inherent skills. Jonathan was great at designing and building things, while Drew was great at seeing things from different angles and negotiating. They both knew they had found a strong combo that could be used again. As they worked on more projects, the twins became more confident and well-known in their neighborhood. Friends and peers started to note how often they turned rundown buildings into nice places to live. But not everything went smoothly during the procedure. It was often hard to work with realtors. They worked with agents who weren't very good at their jobs or didn't meet their needs. Drew didn't want to let failures slow him down, so he took matters into his own hands. He studied for his license and became a realtor, which let the brothers handle transactions themselves. This step was a big turning point. Drew took care of the financial side of things while Jonathan worked on the building side. This gave them more control over their projects. Their increasing professionalism led to the founding of the Scott Real Estate Company. The Scott brothers had already flipped a lot of houses by the time they were in their mid-20s. Every project that went well made them look like competent and trustworthy investors. They weren't just young men doing odd jobs. They were becoming well-known businesspeople with a strong sense of where they were going. Drew also couldn't get rid of the dream that had haunted him since he was a teenager. The entertainment industry kept calling to him. He had always loved acting, but real estate gave him stability and didn't completely satisfy his artistic side. Drew took a big risk in 2006. He moved from Calgary to Vancouver, which has a thriving film industry, in the hopes of finding acting work. Jonathan stayed behind to run the real estate firm and make sure it kept strong as it grew. But Drew's jump wasn't easy. It took more than just ambition to go into show business, and soon he was having trouble with money. As he fell into debt, the steadiness he had once known seemed far away. This time was a test of his strength. Drew didn't give up. Instead, he went back to the abilities that had always helped him. He brought the real estate business back to life in Vancouver, using the same drive and intensity that had helped them succeed before. This helped him get back on his feet financially and make connections in the entertainment business. He went to class, looked for auditions, and slowly built up his network of contacts. It was hard for him to balance both routes, but it showed that he could adapt and keep going. The brothers' love of entertainment never waned, even during this hard time. Drew and Jonathan's older brother, J.D., started Davidian Production Group with them in 2002. The company worked on independent movies and TV shows, which shows that they were serious about media. It showed that they had a long-term plan that mixed their creative inclinations with their business sense. For Drew, it meant that even though there weren't many acting jobs, he was still making a difference in the world of production and storytelling. And then came the pitch that would change everything. Let's tell you how the brothers got a TV network to take a chance on them. The rise of the Property Brothers. In the late 2000s, TV networks were looking for the next big thing in reality TV. Networks had noticed how successful talent shows were and wanted to mix that excitement with different topics. This desire led to the creation of Realtor Idol, which was meant to be like American Idol. The idea was to show real estate agents compete for recognition, but it never took off. Audiences didn't like the idea when it was first being worked on, so the creators knew they had to come up with a new plan. Cineflix, the production firm, chose a different path. Instead of copying a singing contest, they wanted to make a show that would show the emotional journey of families looking for a home. The working title was My Dream Home, and at first, producers thought Drew Scott would be a good choice to help purchasers navigate the real estate process. They wanted to pair him with a female presenter who could balance his charm with her knowledge of design. This version was more like the reality TV shows that people were used to, yet something still felt off. Drew knew that the show would be much more interesting if Jonathan was on it. Jonathan already had years of experience working in building and remodeling, and he was very close to his brother. This made him a better choice than other possible co-hosts. They were two sides of the same coin. Drew could handle the business side of buying a home, including negotiations and contracts. Jonathan might see changes and do the work. Their natural connection made it even more real because they weren't simply co-workers, they were also siblings who had shared history and jokes. Cineflix decided to try out this approach, and it quickly became evident that the brothers had found something special. The project changed over time, and in 2011, when HGTV gave the go-ahead for the series, it officially began under the name Property Brothers. The format was simple yet worked well. Drew helped families find possible houses by going through listings with them that fit their finances and their goals. Jonathan took over the design and renovation work once the sale was final. He turned what often appeared like a fixer-upper into a dream home. The emotional stories that were woven into each episode were what made the show stand out, not just the process of flipping properties. At first, viewers observed families full of hope, but during construction, they were stressed out and ultimately cried when they saw the finished product. A lot of individuals wanted to go on this voyage, just like this one. It wasn't only about the walls, paint, or flooring. It was about showing families a better future. The format was made better by Drew and Jonathan's personality. Their teasing and joking made tough moments less uncomfortable, their competitive teasing gave the show life, and their ability to connect with clients made viewers feel like they were a part of the process. Property Brothers turned into a story about family, dreams, and change instead of just another home improvement show. The show was a big hit right away. During its debut season, it got high ratings and started to expand over the world. People in diverse countries might identify to the idea of looking for cheap housing and watching the miracle of refurbishment. The brothers' Canadian roots made them look nice and approachable, which appealed to viewers who would have been distrustful of more polished or showy reality stars. They seemed real, hardworking, and very interested in assisting other people. The time of the show's first airing also had an effect. A lot of people were having trouble with housing markets that weren't sure what to do in the early 2010s. Viewers were hopeful when they saw Drew make deals and Jonathan turn old areas into beautiful ones. It proved that even when money is tight, people can still own their own homes if they are creative and don't give up. The show immediately became one of HGTV's most stable shows, which helped the network's reputation and brought in advertisers who wanted to reach its growing viewership. Drew finally felt like his longtime ambition of being on TV was coming true, even though it wasn't in the acting roles he had always wanted. Instead, he found a new way to perform that merged his expertise in real estate with his ability to amuse and connect with people. Jonathan also stepped into the spotlight and used his design skills to tell a story. They had all found the perfect stage to show off their skills. The brothers didn't just stop at one show after they became famous. They made a big business. But success brought with it pressures that no one anticipated coming. The empire grows. The success of Property Brothers showed that Drew and Jonathan Scott had found a formula that worked for people all across the world. They quickly went from being TV hosts to running a thriving franchise. The first spin-off was Brother vs. Brother took advantage of their antagonism as siblings. The twins didn't work together, they fought each other. Each working on a property with the same budget and time frame. Fans appreciated the new humor and tension that came from the fun competition that showed off their varied styles. Next was Property Brothers Forever Home, which was about families who wanted to change the homes they already owned. This show had more emotional weight than the first one. Clients weren't only becoming better. They were buying homes where they wanted to raise kids, celebrate important events, and make plans for the future. Drew and Jonathan had more pressure because their job wasn't just to make things look better, they had to alter people's lives. Celebrity IOU was their most ambitious project. The brothers worked with Brad Pitt, Melissa McCarthy, and Michael Bublé, who are all famous in Hollywood, to shock loved ones with big changes to their homes. Watching famous people swing hammers with the brothers brought together real emotion and star power, bringing in people who might not have watched a home repair show otherwise. Their company, Scott Brothers Entertainment, on the other hand, grew to include narrative productions, lifestyle shows, and documentaries. Drew and Jonathan were no longer just TV stars, they were now business owners running a media empire. At this point, they were some of HGTV's most popular stars and were key to the network's profitability and brand. But beyond the glitz, things got harder. Filming several performances in different places meant a lot of travel, long hours, and not much time to rest. They were in charge of finances and deadlines as executive producers, not only as hosts. The work often left them tired both physically and mentally. As the franchise grew, it became tougher to stay true to itself. Fans wanted warmth and humor, but the slick production got some bad reviews. There were reports of tight schedules, tight budgets, and homeowners who said that life after filming wasn't as great as they had thought it would be. Then it seemed on TV. In 2019, the brothers were also in the news after homeowners from a spin-off sued them, saying that contractors did a bad job. Drew and Jonathan didn't build the house, but their brand was at stake, so they had to protect their reputation while still putting on shows that gave people hope. In 2019, the 7th season of Property Brothers was running in more than 150 countries, and the twins were well known. But running such a big business was always hard. The stress was especially hard on Drew. Fans started to notice that he didn't show up as much in episodes, which led to rumors and whispers. Was he just tired, or was something worse going on behind the scenes? But just when it seemed like everything was going to happen, Drew unexpectedly started to disappear from the show. What was going on behind the scenes? Let's share some shocking facts. The health scare that shook fans. By 2019, Property Brothers was a must-see show on HGTV and one of the most dependable shows for viewers all around the world. Drew and Jonathan Scott were very well known at the time. Drew was abruptly gone from important scenes, and the chemistry that made the show so great appeared off. There was a lot of talk on online forums. Some people thought the brothers might have fought behind the scenes. Some others were worried that Drew was going to leave the franchise for good. But the truth was much worse. Drew had been quietly fighting a serious and mystery disease for more than a year, and at first, neither he nor his family knew what was wrong. He masked a lot of the hardship because he didn't want to let down his audience or his team, but the toll was becoming impossible to ignore. His symptoms were both long-lasting and worrisome. Drew was always tired, and it felt like he had the flu, but it never went away. His digestive system was unpredictable, which made his stomach hurt a lot and made it hard for him to spend long hours on set. Even small things became too much to handle. He found out that heat had a big effect on his body and that even normal exercise made him tired. He couldn't work out anymore, even though it used to be a part of his everyday life. The man who had made a career on his endless vitality and charm was becoming more and more vulnerable. The fact that things were unclear made them considerably harder. Drew saw a lot of physicians and had a lot of tests, but for months no one could figure out what was wrong with him. There were always more questions than answers at the end of each appointment. Drew was afraid that his condition would be life-threatening while the cameras were still rolling and Jonathan was still working on the improvements. The uncertainty was hard for him and his family, who had to watch him hunt for a diagnosis without being able to do anything. Finally, after a lot of medical tests, the answer became clear. Drew was found to have mercury poisoning and chronic fatigue syndrome, which explained the symptoms that were making him feel so bad. The news was both scary and comforting. On the one hand, the diagnosis showed that his sickness was serious and may kill him if he didn't get treatment. But it also gave a clear plan for treatment after months of not knowing what to do. Drew had to face the fact that he couldn't push himself as hard as he used to after the diagnosis. He took a break from filming, which left Jonathan to mostly run the show by himself. People noticed right on that one brother was missing, and even though the show went on, many agreed that it wasn't the same without both brothers on TV. For those who had been following Drew for a long time, the idea that he might not come back was really scary. Was this the end of their famous partnership? Drew's main goal throughout this time was to get better. He had to follow stringent medical advice, change his lifestyle, and have therapies to lower the amounts of dangerous mercury in his body. He slowed down and paid close attention to his nutrition and rest. His health got better little by little. It wasn't an instant path to recovery, but it was progress. Drew made a conscious choice to share his story with fans as he became stronger. He talked about his problems, worries, and the things he was learning on social media. By doing this, he converted a personal problem into a public statement about how important it is to take care of yourself. His honesty made a lot of people who had health problems feel better. Drew didn't try to hide his weakness, he accepted it. Revealing that even well-known people who are successful and positive can have problems. When Drew came back to the show, he had not only gotten his vitality back, but he had also changed the way he thought about things. The incident reminded him that health should always come before work, no matter how hard it is. His strength encouraged his supporters and made his public image more interesting. He was no longer just a nice real estate agent who helped people buy their dream homes. He was also a survivor who had been through the worst and came out stronger. Drew's body was recuperating, but his heart was already on a different path. One that would affect his life for good. Drew Scott's love life, family, and future. Drew Scott found something even more life-changing than career success in the middle of filming, renovations, and developing a TV empire. He met Linda Fan at a club in Los Angeles in 2010. What started as a random meeting rapidly turned into something amazing. They both liked to travel, go on adventures, and learn about the globe, which came out in their communication. That little bit of connection quickly grew into a partnership based on respect and appreciation for each other. Linda's calm personality balanced out Drew's tremendous energy. She was a strategic and grounded venture capitalist who was focused on making good decisions and long-term growth. Drew loved being creative and charming, while Linda gave stability and a different point of view. They worked together in a way that made their differences stronger. Friends and family could see how well they got along, and it was evident that their relationship was more than just a passing interest. After 8 years of developing a strong base, Drew and Linda chose to move forward. They got married in Italy in 2018 in a beautiful ceremony. The manner they celebrated their love story showed both their own style and their respective family customs. The occasion was full of happiness, music, and meaningful moments, with friends and family all around. Fans got a rare insight into their private lives when their wedding was shown on the TLC series Drew and Linda Say I Do. For a lot of people, it was an opportunity to witness a different side of Drew, one that showed how much he cared about and loved people outside of the show. In 2022, their love story grew even further. When they had their first child, Parker James Scott, Drew fully embraced the new aspect of his life that came with being a father. He talks a lot about how happy he is to see his son grow up and how it has changed his point of view. Drew puts his family first, even if he has to film and operate several enterprises at the same time. He posts pictures of fun family times, trips, and peaceful nights at home on social media, giving people a look at the bliss he and Linda have made together. Drew hasn't slowed down at work, even though he's reached these personal goals. He and Jonathan keep adding to their brand with new initiatives. Series like Backed by the Brothers and Don't Hate Your House will premiere in 2024. These will be new ideas for their extensive list of hit series. These projects show that they can continually coming up with new ideas while staying in touch with fans who like how they integrate competence with relatability. Drew has been a major supporter of sustainable house design outside of television. He stresses how important it is to use eco-friendly methods when renovating, illustrating that making homes beautiful doesn't have to hurt the environment. He has also written several books on house design and renovation with Jonathan, which has helped them become known as trusted experts in the field. Drew's story is a great example of how to be strong and start over. He has overcome personal obstacles, gained international acclaim, and discovered contentment in love and family. He is not only a charming TV personality now, but also a hard-working business owner. A caring father, a loving spouse, and a passionate champion. His story keeps changing, which reminds followers that the most important things in life are often not fame or money, but the relationships we build and the ideals we live by. What do you think about Drew Scott's amazing journey from health problems to family happiness and career success? Please leave your comments below.